Yo, what's good? What's good? Welcome to the Epic Entertainment Critics. I am Antoine.
And I am still James.
And we have a little lag in there, but we will get this review done, I swear. We're going to do a review on Artemis Fowl. Been trying to get it for a couple weeks. Been having technical difficulties, but we can go ahead, knock it out. But before we do that, we got an intro. All right, we're back. Artemis Fowl. Your favorite book, your favorite property. I guess it's not young adult, preteen book. Is it a name for that genre?
I do not actually know. That is a very good question. I don't know, like young fantasy. I don't know, man.
Right. So this is in the vein of Harry Potter, and if you see this, you're gonna be like, "Damn, they copying all the way off Harry Potter." It's like, damn. No, I'm talking about shamelessly copying off Harry Potter to the point of they had the character look exactly the same. Okay, so what's the character on Harry Potter that look like Diggum?
Hagrid.
Okay, yeah, they got a character. I'm gonna try to put some pictures up and post. They got a character on Harry Potter named Hagrid or whatever. Got a long beard and whatever, and they got a character look just like him in Artemis Fowl to start the story. Mind you, don't need them. Like that character don't really play that much of a purpose in there, but they want you to feel like you watching Harry Potter when you see stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
So, okay, Artemis Fowl, and I noticed that you like, man, I'm so done with this shit. So this was a book. This is a book about a young, maybe 12-year-old that's very smart. And then he calls himself a criminal mastermind. But the movie starts off where he just an asshole. Or, excuse me, he just a little smart ass. It's like, oh, I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than all adults, but I'm still only 12, so whatever. It's starting off, man. I didn't like the guy who played Artemis Fowl. I mean, the kid. I'm sorry. I ain't gonna say I didn't care for his. First of all, his look. The little dude got kind of a. He got kind of a. I ain't gonna say a. You know what? He a kid. I'm gonna cut him some slack, but his look to me was like, I don't know. It's like funny looking little dude to me. I don't know what it was, but yeah, and his acting was like not good. So I was kind of like from the beginning like not feeling it, not feeling his character as Artemis Fowl. Like when it first came on, how'd you think of like what I'm saying, when they introduced him as Artemis? What was you thinking of as being a fan of the books? What was you thinking of his performance?
You definitely get the sense in the books that Artemis is not a normal kid.
Yeah.
You don't get that sense in this movie. He feels like a normal kid, a smart ass, and a smart kid, but he feels like a normal kid.
Right. And that was kind of like, I was like, I want to be impressed. Like when I, from what I heard and from the way they, build this movie, I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to be impressed with the little dude from the beginning, like one of those kids that, like, oh man, this kid's something else, they ain't gonna be able to mess with him, and I didn't get that at all. So first of all, your main star is flat, so that's already a problem. And I usually don't complain about kids, but if the series is gonna be named after you, and we got kid actors that's like knocking it out of the park, you got to do better. So that's from the beginning. So and they started off with what's the guy who Josh Gad? So Josh Gad playing Diggum. What's his name? Diggum
Mulch Diggums.
Yeah, they started off with he's doing the voiceover. he's doing a voiceover and telling the story. First of all, I don't like voiceover. I don't like when they start stories off. Let me tell you the story about, you know what I'm saying? You wonder why we got here? Let me tell you the story. You know, it's like, stop right there. You already lost me with this shit.
So you're probably wondering how this happened.
Yeah, I know. And let me tell you this. And then he trying to talk with this Scottish accent with this voice like, you don't know Artemis Fowl. I'm going to tell you. I'm like, just shut up. You sound stupid. You already losing me. From the beginning of the movie, you losing me. and now we get to introduce all these characters. And so Artemis Fowl got his dad, Artemis Fowl Sr., which is played by Colin Farrell. And you know,
Can I just say something?
Go ahead.
Why do they always waste him as an actor whenever they want him to be Irish?
I swear.
Anytime he's going to be Irish in the movie, it's like, okay, so we're going to give you maybe 2 minutes of screen time.
You didn't like his bullseye?
You're have 2 lines. You know, like, no, but this is me. Stop that. But I do have this movie where you're going to be a Texan and you're the main character and you got all the...
Yeah. Yeah, he's boring as shit. Like he just, you know, it ain't too much his acting. It's just the writing. They didn't give him nothing to do, so he's there just to be like, he basically like a dad that work a lot and just tell his kid, hey, I gotta go to work, dude. Like, you know, be a good boy. I gotta go to work. You know, put your big boy pants on. You know, you run the show now. I gotta go though.
And that's pretty much his only lines in the movie. It's like, look, I love you, son. You cool, and you know I gotta work, so I'm gonna be hopping in the helicopter and I'm gonna be gone. But we good, right?
Right.
Son, bye.
I know it's just like one of those, you know, Dad, you never here. Yeah, I know I'm never here, but that's gonna change. But right after that, right before that, I gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay,
but
one of these stories.
You know I don't like being away from you all the time. I love you, and I'm gonna change it so I'm home more. But not today.
You're right. But not today. So, okay, so we got Artemis Fowl Sr. We don't know exactly what he do, but he's got this big mansion, so you know he's rich. But okay, we and then we get kind of thrown into this other world. So they kind of got this whole thing where, you know, he always tell his son about fairies and all the, you know, all the mystical stuff that we hear about in stories and books. And, you know, Artemis like, oh, yeah, that's not real, though. You know, thanks for telling me. And it's funny how he kind of telling them these stories and stuff while after he's like 12 or 13, it's like, man, I don't want to hear this shit. It's like, what? Like, why are you still telling me nighttime stories like I'm a little kid, you know? And, you know, we find out later, this is all true. But you didn't tell him it was true. How about maybe you should have told him it was true from the word go, and then you could have prepared him better for it. But whatever.
How will we set up the scavenger hunt if we don't have all these stories to decode?
Ooh, you know, it's funny you say that because the end, I mean, okay, when they found what they was looking for and when you find out where it's at, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Why am I here? Why am I here? We're going to get to that. So anyway, okay, now we get to introduce to this because his dad get kidnapped, and let's talk about the villain real quick. His dad get kidnapped by a villain, and this is a faceless villain. This is a faceless villain with a voice like this. Artemis Fowl, you will find this object or you'll never see your dad again. Forget about me, Artemis. Just save yourself. Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? What is this? So, what do you think about that villain, my man?
I could have just been like, man, fuck this villain if I didn't know that this was like the biggest villain from the entire franchise.
But the way they introduced, it was like the Scream villain, dude. Yeah. It was like, what's your favorite scary movie? It's like, what the fuck is this
shit? Like, I'm not fond of the shadowy villain with the weird voice. I don't.
It's so cliched that it's ridiculous. Yeah. You know,
like you might as well just license the Claw. You know, like
or Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget,
Dr.
where you don't
Claw.
never show him.
Yeah, like all you
I'll
ever
get
see is
you
that
next
one
time.
hand and the cat. That's it.
Yeah, but
I will get you,
make you know what? Make it so bad. Dr. Claw had more personality than this fucking villain they had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at least Dr. Claw had him a cat.
Like I don't even know if the person wearing that cloak was the person doing the voice, but I hope they got paid.
Whatever,
man.
who cares? So I mean, we had a villain that
You waste
kidnapped-
my time like that, I need to get some money. That's all I'm saying.
So we had a villain. So this poor Artemis on this scavenger hunt, he's got to find this object. So mind you, he just not realized that all the stories that his dad told him was true, that fairies are real and all this. So now he's got to find this object that he didn't know shit about because he didn't even know that this stuff was real. So why did you just have his dad find it? Oh, I guess his dad was refusing. So it was like, if you refuse, I know your son will find it because he's your son. You must have taught him everything you know. No.
Like, why would you assume his son, like, sight unseen, is intelligent enough to find something that an entire like legion of magical motherfuckers can't find?
Yeah, whatever. So, so now we get introduced to this new world. Now, this was the part that I kind of enjoyed a little, where they got a whole nother world where they got fairies and they always, you know what? It's always the same group of people, right? And this time they fairies, but they pretty much elves. So you got elves, not gnomes. What the fuck are the short people called? Dwarfs. You got elves, dwarfs.
I mean, they're fairies, like they're actual.
I'm sorry, fairies.
Wings and whatnot.
Right. I mean, okay, but that's what I'm saying. But they pretty much look like elves with the ears and all that. Like they real. You don't agree? I mean,
I'm just saying. Like,
I mean,
I'm
semantics.
I'm used to the Lord of the Rings elves. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I got you. You know what? I apologize to the fantasy community. If I know people say, "What elves and fairies ain't the same?" What the fuck? I'm gonna kick this guy's ass. I'm gonna put a spell on him. Look, I'm sorry. Okay, my bad. I'm not a fan. I'm a sci-fi guy. I apologize, y'all. Okay,
man.
so they got fairies, and they got dwarves, and what other people?
And I think they had some goblins.
Okay, yeah, goblins, and we're gonna get to the horse dude. I want to talk a little bit about. I talked about him the last time. So they got, Okay, well, let me kind of explain their world a little bit. They got magic and science. It's kind of cool because everything they can do, where usually in this fantasy world is always just some spell or something. They actually use technology for all the stuff they can do, which is kind of cool to me. Which I'm like, that's interesting in itself, where you got a fantasy world that's is blended with magic and technology. So you know what I'm saying that like I wouldn't mind seeing something like that where it ain't just magic or fantasy. It's okay. So they got computers, they got jetpacks, they got all kind of stuff, which kind of made it kind of cool. That's why I was interested in it. And then your boy show up, the horse dude. I'm like, oh, I'm out. I was in, and I'm immediately okay. I'm out. I just play. So they got like a tech guy, and he's like what do you call those in fantasy? Is a horseman or
centaur?
Centaur. So he's a centaur, and he's the tech guy. But when they got him walking, he's like trotting, like and mind you, he's working in the lab or whatever, so he really don't have no room to move. So my dude just, hey, let me get over and do this. Let me do that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, y'all don't have to have my dude trotting and shit, for real. It didn't work for me the way they was doing that time. So, I mean, were you familiar with the books, man? How close is this to the books as far as that world?
I mean, like, as far as the world itself, they did a good job of adapting that part of it. The as far as plot and characters, that has its own discussion. But as far as like just the world itself, it looks the way it reads in the book.
Okay, so that's one thing that is one thing they got right from the books. Because when I heard, I ain't read the books, but from what I heard from people, this is like so far off from the books than you could get. So I mean, and then he got to go get this. He's got to get this artifact for this villain, and the fairies get involved because they kind of like the police of this world, and so
well, so one of the first jokes in the book is there's no such thing as leprechauns.
Okay.
Their police force is called the LEP Recon.
Okay, I got you. So I'm not gonna get into the exact thing in the books because they didn't have no leprechauns. I don't think no leprechauns in here. But my thing is, for this movie, the authority was the fairies. To me, the ones that was doing they pretty much was like the military or something, like, you know what I'm saying? They did the why do you keep on trying to dispute everything I say, but you ain't got nothing to say about it?
No, I was just gonna say, like, they do make up the bulk of their police force. Yeah.
Okay, of cool. I'm just saying, like, you keep on saying, "Well, I beg to differ." And exactly, look, man, just say that nerd shit. Let's get through this interview. Let's get this review.
I didn't say what I was gonna say because it's not exactly something we can put up.
Okay, so got you. My point is, the elves. I'm sorry, the fairies, or with the fairies have to stop Artemis Fowl from stealing this artifact or something like that, because they are kind of like the authority. That's where you get this other character. What's her name? The main fairy. Something short.
Holly.
Okay, yeah, Holly Short was to me could be the main character instead of Artemis Fowl. Okay.
I had to stop myself from saying that out loud.
So, to me, she could be the main character instead of Artemis Fowl, but she becomes. I'm sorry, she's going just to do retcon, and then she ended up getting sucked into Artemis Fowl's master plan to get this artifact back or whatever. And I'm gonna tell you another thing. We almost forgot to talk about your boy, the butler, but don't call him that, Mr. Butler. So we got the butler. I don't remember his real name, but I've seen him a lot, and he's a British actor that I see him in a lot of movies. He goes from playing henchmen to playing bodyguards to playing, which he's a big black guy. So, and if you go to Hollywood, what they gonna put you in? They're gonna put you,
goon number 3.
He's gonna be he's stepping up. He's gonna be a bouncer. He's kind of like how Michael Clark Duncan kind of like stepped up. They're like, wait a minute, this guy actually can act. Yeah. If you give him a chance to play somebody other than a bouncer or, just a henchman. But the dude's actually a good actor. But what they did with him, with his hair and the eyes, it looks ridiculous, man. And I'm looking like, man, why y'all do this to this brother, man?
There's this weird thing, and this is something like I've only really seen it take off in the last few years, where it's like, okay, so we're casting someone who doesn't really look anything like the character, but we're going to take the two biggest, like, most noticeable things about that character and graft those features onto this guy. Whether it works or not, that's what we're going to do. And so in the book, Butler has blonde hair and blue eyes. He shaved his head, but he's got blonde hair and blue eyes.
Okay, right. I saw the picture. He had a shaved head, right?
Yeah. So he tends to shave his head, but he does have blonde hair and blue eyes. For whatever reason, they decided, well, I know we're casting a black guy in the role, but we can give him blonde hair and blue eyes. Why not?
And this is the thing. And his eyes were so blue, they look totally fake. You know what I'm saying? They didn't look like...
It's so weird, man.
Right. They didn't look like eyes. They looked like some... what they call them? Like some little fake eyes, contacts. Like fake-ass contacts.
Yeah, okay.
And the kind that you can't even see out of. You know what I'm saying? The kind that... So I'm like...
it's such a weird... Like, because he's not kind of black. This dude is black. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I'm
This
like,
was this
dude, why didn't you just
African
have him?
black.
Right. Why did you just have him shave his head? Why you got this stupid? Why you got this blonde hair? You know, it looks silly. It don't work. Y'all really dropped the ball with that one. And I'm thinking maybe they just didn't want him to look kind of. They probably felt he looked a little too goonish, if you know, with the with the shaved head or whatever. I don't know, but he didn't do much in the movie. You know, he's the butler, protector, whatever. He's no Alfred, but you know, he played. You know, he had his purpose, I guess.
Right.
So
He's just a bodyguard, so it's whatever.
right, and I had, you know, I'm like, okay, um, that that black protector trope. I'm kind of getting tired of myself.
Yeah.
Anywho, so I mean, moving on with the movie, it starts to turn into one of those fantasy CG heavy movies where they're using magic and all this. So the character Artemis Fowl is actually supposed to be this, like, he called himself a criminal mastermind. He's supposed to be real smart. He's supposed to make plans on top of plans and all that. And I didn't even see that. You know, when I saw the movie, I was like, I'm unimpressed with his plans. You know, it's like, oh, this is part of my plan. And I'm like, okay. And then, I guess, I don't know what the budget is, but that CG did not look great. It didn't look bad, but it didn't look like a blockbuster movie CG. It looked kind of like some good CG that you will see like on a Disney Channel or something. You know what I'm saying? Better than sci-fi, but worse than a good blockbuster movie, though. You know what I'm saying?
Budget was 125 million.
Oh, okay. All right. So, wow. They took that L. You know what? And you know what? And I'm gonna say thank you to Disney for taking it on the chin and not trying to keep on trying to, like, when the pandemic started, and you know, you was gonna have to bring out some movies to Disney Plus. This one hit Disney Plus streaming service, and this is where it belonged. You know, now they took the L because of that damn budget, and they had the nerve to set up for like this is gonna be a trilogy. You know, you know, they basically had the villain, and I don't want to spoil it, but they basically had the villain like Dr. Claw. I'll get you next time. Next time. Like that. Where everything but the damn cat fucking like, oh dude. It wasn't good, man.
It wasn't good at all.
And I'm gonna go ahead and close up, dude. I'm gonna let you give some closing thoughts, because you've been uncharacteristically quiet on this, and I need you to tell me your real feelings.
So, like, this movie suffers from, like, if I had to key into one inciting incident that ruined everything this movie touched from the actual book, they decided to make Artemis a relatable hero. And so what you end up with is a normal kid put into an abnormal situation, and he just happens to win. You know, it's not even from him being smarter than everyone else. It's just he's the hero of the story, so he won. In the books, the inciting incident is him saying, "So Fairy's got gold, right? I want that." So he enacts his whole plan to lure them in so he can steal their gold. That's the whole. That's how this.
Right, and I can tell they changed the whole dynamic to make him a relatable hero instead of being that villain, because it's basically from a villain's point of view kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Joker or one of them, or Magneto movie or whatever they, you know, even though it wasn't a Magneto movie, but they was thinking about doing that. But anyway,
like one of the later books, the fairies have to go to him for help. And he's like, "Okay, that's cool. So what you gonna pay me?"
Right. I mean, that makes sense, because he called himself a criminal mastermind. He called himself that at the end of the movie, and you wonder, like, why? He's like, what did you do criminal? You didn't, you know what I'm saying? And if you see this artifact where it was actually at, and I'm not going to spoil anything, you're going to be like, how are you a criminal? What did you do? you didn't do anything illegal.
Yeah.
You circumvented some
can't become
rules,
a
but you
criminal
didn't do nothing
mastermind by
illegal.
saving the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like he didn't earn that title at all.
Yeah. So, and the fact that they was trying to make a trilogy out of this is just horrible. It's
Like I'm surprised this wasn't on Disney Channel.
right. Well, it's on Disney Plus. They were smart. They made the right move and said, "Hey, you know what? We just put this out." So the little trailer on the trailer, you saw some action where the guy shooting the arrow and all that. That was one scene. After that, it
Yeah.
wasn't too much more of that. It was just a little mild action. And say again.
And a CG fight.
Yeah, and so I mean, it might appeal to a real younger audience.
Yeah.
I can I can see that, but see what they mess up at. They don't realize a lot of older people like this kind of stuff.
Like this is the weakness of taking something that came out in like because it's like the Harry Potter thing.
Yeah,
You take a book that came out in the 80s and 90s.
right. Those your fans are going to be in their 30s.
Exactly. So it's like it's all well and good if it's like, yeah, I got my kid into the book, so now we're gonna go see the movie together. That's great. But you still got adults in those theaters. Parents taking their kids to see these movies. You really gonna sit them in there for like an hour, over 2 hours watching some bullshit?
Right. That's something Hollywood don't understand. Right now, when you stick to the source material, it seems to have better results than just keep trying to change it to fit a certain audience. It's not working no more. They don't seem to understand. I don't know how much money they need to lose to understand how not to do this. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we about to find out.
So, all right, man. I'm gonna give it a rating. This movie, this movie's a hot garbage. It's not too much to say. We kind of like ran out of stuff to say about this because we already did this twice, and I can see, I can tell why you ain't saying too much because like, look, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
So I feel you, but it was hot garbage, man. It was, which I haven't read the books, but from what I heard, it's not close to the source material. The acting was not good. The main character was flat. They didn't give the good actors nothing to do, and the supporting characters wasn't. They was just there, and some of the special effects wasn't bad. It was a nice look at a different universe, and maybe if they could do something else with it, I wouldn't mind them expanding on that other world. But other than that, it wasn't much there, dude. So for that, I give it a hot garbage. What do you give it?
It's a flaming pile of hot garbage. That's the only rating anyone can give it. This movie, for a movie that came out in 2020, this is a very 2020 ass movie. It's a dumpster fire floating down the river.
Yeah.
But this movie doesn't look like it could have been made like within 5 years of today. Like this looks like a 1998, 2003 movie. Like,
yeah, I say early 2000s where they was trying to get where CG was starting to be the main formula for movies, and they was throwing out just books and whatever, like that Jack and the Beanstalk shit, like stuff like that.
People was like, "Hey, we got CG now. We can make this movie. We don't need to figure out how to make it. We got the CGI."
Crap.
Crap.
All right, man. That is our review for Artemis Files. Sorry it took so long, and I want to apologize for we kind of burnt out on it. You might not got everything you usually get out of us on reviews because we're a little burnt out. But that is our review for Artemis Fowl, and we're gonna jump into some other reviews. So thanks for checking out the video. Subscribe to the channel. Yada yada yada.
Don't see this movie.
All right, man. We're gonna move on.